So the modern way of grabbing JSON nowadays is something called fetch. Fetch came out a few years ago by the TC39 who approved it, and it replaces the XML HTTP request that was created more than a decade ago. So this is how it works. Actually, before we do that, let me just clean house a little bit. Let's create our own index.js file. Save that, and we'll paste in our code. Let's get rid of all the stuff we don't need, and let's try fetch. So to use fetch, you just simply say fetch, and then you put in the API. We'll use mine again, and then you say a .then, and we'll explain the whole concept of promises in a second. But notice how similar fetch is to, for example, the XML HTTP request, where first we had to parse it. So right now we have to parse it, and then we can work with the data. So at this point here, we can now do the same thing we did before. We can console log the data, we can say me equals the data, and we can display the data. So let's try that and go and open up our page, and it works. Great. And I'm going to explain a little bit what's going on under the hood, and it's a concept called promises. But first, the final thing we want to do is use the most modern way of getting JSON. So let me just comment how to get API response using fetch, and then the final way is how to get API response using async await and fetch. Okay, so the whole concept of async await is to make your code look synchronous, because notice even the fetch code still looks very similar to the older styles that we had before. We have all these callbacks, and you don't want to get into callback hell kind of thing, even though this does a pretty good job of avoiding that. So to use async await, you basically have to use a function. So create a function, we'll call it whatever, but in front of the word function you stick the word async, and then for all the fetch requests, which takes some time, you need to stick the word await. So this takes some time to get the data, and that's why we stick the word await in front of it, and that data will come in to the response variable. Now that response variable won't be usable yet. We have to parse it. So response.json, and then let's assign that into a variable. But because this response depends on this, we have to also stick the word await here. Otherwise, if we run it like this, it'll complain. JavaScript will do this line immediately after it tries to do this line, but because this takes an eternity in terms of computing cycles, this will execute even before this gives us the data. So once we have that data in a format we can use, then we can do the stuff we did before. So we can console it, assign it to me, and display it. And let's try it out. Let's go back to here and refresh. Oh, we forgot to call the function. It's called get user info. Okay, let's try that. Refresh. Great. Oh, it's missing a couple of things. Not sure what's happening there. Oh, right. Then that's what happens when you don't say await. So let's do that await. There you go. All right, so the next video we'll talk a little bit more about what's going on under the hood of fetch, and we're going to talk a little bit about promises.